Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Hello, everybody. I'm Amber Jones. Wow. Okay.
It's still hard to remember.
I know. I forgot my name for a second. I'm Amber Jones, and I'm here with my co-host, Kristen Hessler and Cindy Murray.
I literally wrote Kristen Murray on a piece of paper today, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm."
Did
Kristen
you call
Murray
her Murray
today.
just now?
No, I said Hessler.
Oh, okay.
No,
because I call her Murray all the
I'm
time.
like, that's so relatable.
And I will never remember to call you Amber Jones, even though it's been like 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All of my students were like, we're not calling you Mrs. Jones. And I'm like, oh. Well, I mean, technically, I guess I haven't changed my name yet. So it's technically still Garvin.
That's the way Kristen was. She was still technically.
Well, yeah, because it was during COVID, and it was like, I have to go do this, and you have to do that, and then you got to go do this to get it done. It was a lot of work. It took me 3 years.
Okay, I don't think it'll take me that long, but yeah, it is. It still is a bit of work, but I mean, I'm taking my time. I'm not trying to rush. You know, it's hard enough getting off work in these times, so I'm just probably gonna do it on spring break.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Which is not far from now.
You will be going through things and changing your name for like a decade.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You have
I
to
just keep
change.
finding new things where I'm like, oh, my name needs to change on this too.
I still have things that come in the mail that says Stevens on it.
Yeah.
Which is everybody knows probably by now that I am divorced, and that's my old name.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it kind of makes Jason look at me sideways whenever I get a piece of mail that says Stevens. I'm like,
I got stuff under the name of Carlson for years. So
yeah, you can't really control that.
You can't. Yeah. It's weird.
It's like, I promise my name is Garvin. It's not Stevens.
It's not my fault.
It's not anymore, though.
That's
sort
true.
of pretty much. I mean,
it is until she changes it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Her name is Garvin until she changes it.
I don't understand why they can't just let you put that on your marriage license and like do it all at once.
I know. Wouldn't that be easier if it was just like a click? Okay, suddenly, and then it goes through all across everything, your bank accounts, everything. Your last name
I don't want the government connected to my bank account. And
yeah,
and it's your license, your marriage license is a county / thing, / state. I'm not sure exactly who controls. I mean, you get it at the county, so it's not even connected to the state, which is your driver's
why don't
license.
you invent one, Amber?
Hey, yeah, that brings us back around to what we're talking about today.
We always get off track. I like that, though. I like that we get off on
track
other things
before we even were on.
Yeah, we weren't even on track. So,
and she didn't even introduce us either. Well, yeah, she did.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so February 11th is coming up. And I don't know if y'all knew this or if anybody who's listening knows this, but it's National Inventors Day.
I did not know that until you pointed it out, but I think it's kind of cool. And, we like to celebrate those.
Yeah, we like to celebrate those.
Celebrate all the holidays, I think.
Yeah, all of the weird holidays. And this is something that we haven't really talked about, are inventions. But National Inventions Day is actually also Thomas Edison's birthday.
Oh, okay.
And so we wouldn't be recording this podcast if it wasn't for Thomas Edison. So we are here today celebrating inventions and Thomas Edison and mentors and everything like that. So I want to pose the question to you two ladies. What is your favorite invention?
Ooh.
This is tough. I know it's tough.
There
There's
are
so
a lot.
many.
I could probably give you like
what's the most
things that I think are super awesome and cool and useful, but
what maybe like I know I'd originally asked like what's the best invention, but what's the most like meaningful invention to you? Like what do you get the most out of something that has been invented?
Okay, I have two. I watch a lot of Netflix, and I would say like that's a pretty cool invention, like having streaming.
Yeah, streaming. That's
I
awesome.
liked. I don't even know like if that's really considered an invention, but their whole company of how they sent you DVDs in the mail, that was really cool.
Yeah, like
they
they're
are
pioneers in the field
of online video streaming with YouTube. Like right there, hands down, those guys are pretty awesome because I use that every day, probably. Just today I was shopping for a craft supply and I saw one that was a different brand and I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy it or not. And I was like, well, let me just go watch a couple of videos of someone demonstrating the product. And like 2 minutes later, I was like, okay, I feel like this is the product that I would choose based on what I saw in the videos. So that was really cool. I was mobile when I did that. I wasn't at home. I was on the fly. I was able to watch instructional video and make a decision.
And that's
really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, that's
the other
helpful.
One's a little weird, but I like spandex, lycra. I love stretchy clothes. For me, comfort is everything. Like, I can't imagine walking around wearing, like...
I want to say
a
that
bone corset.
Right. But, I mean, even just... Not even that. Just, like, other fabric, other materials. Like, could you imagine if you had to wear silk all day?
Oh,
like,
Lord.
all silk.
Yeah.
My
or
gosh.
even
Or
cotton.
just wearing cotton.
Oh,
yeah.
man, sweaty. And then silk.
Or
no
wool.
give. Wool. Ooh,
Or
itchy.
leather. Like actual like natural fibers. Like it's really cool that we take like the
we take
plants
that
and
for
animals,
granted.
but
You know what I mean? Like
spandex is pretty awesome. It like actually stretches like 3 times its original length and withstands like the test of time. So I would say spandex probably one of my favorite things. I'm literally like most of my clothes are made out of it. Like probably 95%.
Well, a lot of people have it, even if it's just an additive to the cotton or polyester.
And I will not buy a shirt that doesn't give or stretch or that's a really good answer. I wouldn't have even thought about that.
Yeah, I have of modern conveniences, I would say the computer and the cell phone. And they kind of are interchangeable.
Nowadays, definitely.
Actually, technically, I would say, if I could go this far, as to say Steve Jobs was one of my favorite inventors because
absolutely.
he was the person who had the foresight to believe that people could have a personal computer in their home. And that has changed. It has revolutionized everything I have done from the time I graduated high school, pretty much. As an audio engineer, I learned on Apple computers. They drove the synthesizers. We used them in the studios. They were the go-to for desktop publishing and for art, for a long time. And then by extension, the cell phone, because it allowed us to be even more mobile. It's basically a pocket computer. We laugh. My husband and I used to laugh all the time about, we used to play a role-playing game called Traveler. And it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's based in a future universe, high tech. And you travel from planet to planet or whatever. And so technology is a big deal. And we had wrist computers and pocket computers. Well, guess what? We actually have those right now.
Yeah.
Kristen is wearing an Apple Watch, which is a wrist computer. And I have a cell phone that at one point in time fit in my pocket. It's kind of large for that now, but that would be your pocket computer.
Yeah.
And I compute on them. I use Microsoft Word and other things that I use, other applications that I use on my computer.
There are some times where I feel like the cell phone is actually easier to use than the computer.
Yeah.
Oh,
not
definitely.
for writing papers, but
Right.
watching.
But for searching
my
something,
my video streaming.
I remember when the Apple when the iPhone first came out, Kristen and I were at a scrapbook retreat, and this girl had one of the first generation phones, and we spent the whole weekend. I think Google was pretty new as well.
Yeah, they both came out around the same time.
Google was
the Android.
We used that my sophomore year in high school. That was 2000.
Yeah, and so we sat there at this thing and tell her, and we'd say, Google this. Look up this. Tell us this.
How do you spell this? Yeah.
How do you spell this? And that's what she did all weekend, was just play on her phone and show us all the things that she could access with her cell phone.
Because we were out in the country without internet.
Without internet, yeah. And it was phenomenal. And so those really kind of together, interchangeable, but definitely my number one right there. And like I said, it's changed the travel industry. They use computers to control flight data, and the air traffic, all of that stuff is controlled by that. As a travel agent, I use it so that I can work at home and book travel for my clients, and all those kind of things. We used it in the studio. We're using, we use it to edit this podcast, and we use it to stream this podcast. So, as technically the podcast would fall under your streaming services, even though it's just audio.
My streaming services, that was just the tip of the iceberg. I actually want to give credit due to the first videotape recordings.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that is videotapes, now are something of the past. You don't just put something in the VCR or what have you, and record something, or they don't necessarily use film anymore, like real physical film. It's all digital now. But because someone invented this first platform for recording visual, now we have all of this other stuff. We wouldn't have video streaming if we didn't have video recording.
Well, and we wouldn't have, if you want to take that a step further, we wouldn't have video recording without photography.
Yeah.
And that brings me to what I was going to say would be my favorite invention, would be photography, the camera.
That would be a good
really
one for
cool.
me.
I would have never guessed that being your
taking. Yeah. It's because I love taking pictures. Yeah. That's one of my most favorite things, and recording videos, of course, too.
Yeah.
But that's probably 90% of what I use my cell phone for.
Yeah.
I don't talk on the phone to people unless I have to. I text people, but it's not like I do it on the weekend. It's not like I must text all
the time. You send
you text all on the weekend.
Long.
Well, okay, but I don't text a lot when I'm at work. I'll text at night.
Yeah.
I'll text on my break, but it's not, I used to text a lot more, believe me. I used to get in trouble with those
10-cent texts.
10-cent text bills that were sent to my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bill would go directly to my mom, and I think one time it was a $500 bill or something like that.
Wow.
Back when texting first came out, and you paid per text. I'm pretty sure that it was a astronomical bill that my mom got, and of course then they came out with unlimited text. But yeah, definitely one of my most favorite is the camera.
I have
or
to
just
agree.
Man, so art is so prevalent in my life. So, and I know that art has been around forever, but a camera is a different way to capture art.
Well, obviously, as a scrapbooker, photography is also a big part of my life as well. And I agree.
Yeah.
And so the computer I use to journal in my scrapbooks, and whatever. And the photography, I use to capture those memories. And I have thousands of photographs on file here at my house that, we've taken. So
Another one, and this is, an old school invention, but another thing that's really big in my life, probably even bigger than photography, would be words, books, writing,
language.
The printing press,
Yeah,
being able
I was going to actually
print out
mention
your words.
As one of mine, like later, like an older transformative thing that we take for granted, is the ballpoint pen. Because I mean, and probably for many of the same reasons you do, it just eases the process of writing, and it made available things to read.
You don't have to dip your pen in ink,
ink everywhere.
Get a feather quill and dip it in,
cut it to the right angle,
and dip it in ink. Yeah, that is,
and then scratch it across paper and throw your sand on it to dry it.
Yeah. You know what's funny is like the ballpoint pen and like take the mouse, for example, on your computer. Those are like transitional inventions that take you from like these basic inventions that were also profound, but take them to the next level, and then they kind of get like lost and forgotten. Like we still use ballpoint pens.
Yeah, people do.
But that's what I was saying. But we take it for granted.
It is, but it's also not like the most common mode of communication anymore. It used to be like critical for communication.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, now we use typing.
And if we are writing, it might be with a stylus on your iPad.
Yeah.
Like your, or your Apple Pencil.
And that's where I say like the mouse comes to mind, because the mouse was only used, I mean, it's still used, but not as, widely used as it was, like, 20 years ago. And then even like before then, there were no mouses. You just typed.
So the mouse with the ball, where you had to take the ball out and
clean it. Spoogy.
Yeah. Like old school 1980s mice.
Yeah. But that one's a really cool invention, because the mouse took the programming, that manual typing command strokes to navigate your computer.
It helped.
And to actually like
the graphic user interface.
It made it now more like your hand is inside the computer, and now you have the stylus. Now you have virtual reality and other things. Like I don't know if the mouse actually drove us to virtual reality, but it was a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone.
The way.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because I wanted to bring it when Amber suggested this article. Kristen reminded me of a podcast, or not a podcast. I think it was on NPR. Well, it is a podcast. I want to say it was on Think on NPR, and they were interviewing this author who had written this book, and the book was really fascinating. It was so fascinating to me that I bought a copy for my son Stephen for Christmas, and then I promptly told him, when you're through reading it, please let me borrow it. But it was called Nuts and Bolts: 7 Small Inventions That Changed the World in a Big Way. And it's written by, I think her name is Roma Agrawal, if I'm not mistaken. And she's a structural engineer who worked on London's the Shard building, which is the tallest tower in Western Europe. And anyway, she has this book, and she kind of broke the inventions down. So we're talking about the computer, but without the computer, I mean, before we could have the computer, we had to have magnetism, because we have to be able to write onto a drive. We have to have electricity. We have to have all these other things, right? And so she broke it down to these 7 small inventions that we totally take for granted. And the 7, as I understand it, are the nail, the wheel, the spring, the magnet, the lens, string, and the pump. And probably the pump is the most complex of all of them. But the nail, she talks about how the nail went from Egyptians invented the nail, and, how they went from, how they used it for one thing, and then it developed into a screw, and then it developed into nuts and bolts and things like that. The wheel, she talked about how the when you think of the wheel, you think of a vehicle, a cart, right? So you think that people invented the wheel to put on a cart to drag the cart, but no, the wheel was actually the potter's wheel, and these things are that she's talking about are like ancient inventions. When she was talking about the screw was not initially used like a nail to hold things together. It was actually used to drill or to go down into the well and bring water up. So you put the screw down into like a big screw down into the well or whatever, and as you turn it, the water stays in the little channels and you can bring water up. And that was the first use of a screw. I was like, that is really fascinating. I never would have thought of that. Or that the potter's wheel was the first way that a wheel, somebody figured out that they could put this, it probably may not have even been round. It may have been square. Right. But if you could put it on a post and spin it around, that you could evenly work your clay, So all of these things that she has on there are really fascinating. And so I really want to read this book. And my son started reading it over the holidays, and it was kind of hard to put down. So when I was listening to the interview, I just thought it was really cool. So and one kind of interesting thing was the string. I haven't read the book, but I'm just going off of notes that I took. The Neanderthals invented string.
Oh.
And we wouldn't even have musical instruments
without string.
Oh, snap. You didn't think about that. Like guitars, pianos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of like string tying stuff together.
Even that. But
that goes like a completely different direction.
That's what I was talking about. These inventions, they're so small, but they are, and we think they're insignificant. But the fact that somebody figured out ways to use them, and that those things evolved into other inventions over and over and over and over again, that just fascinates me. And I really look forward to reading that book. So.
Oh yeah, well, I really want to read that book also.
Yeah, it looks really cool. And like I said, the interview was like an hour long. She talked about a lot of things that were in the book, but it was fascinating. It was really fascinating.
Okay. So, let me ask you guys another question. What is, because we did like practical type inventions, what is, although Kristen kind of already did this though with the spandex though, but what is the weirdest invention?
Weird.
Like something that you wouldn't, like something that you use but you didn't know you ever needed type.
Well, you
were going
another way. I was going to say the weirdest and most useful and awful invention, but maybe not. Weird that I don't know that I needed.
Or just like weird that you wouldn't think that should have been invented.
The guillotine.
Oh.
Someone literally created a machine to swiftly and efficiently chop people's heads off. Yeah, I mean, in a sense, it makes sense because you wouldn't want someone to not do it well. Because the whole point of it is to make it go quickly and painlessly.
Right.
But
you have
it's
to be
pretty sick that we had to invent a machine to do that. Right. And then you think about all the other...
think of all the other torture devices.
Chair.
The electric chair. Like
that was the first thing I thought of after you said that. And then there's all the other torture chamber type things, you know, like the Iron Maiden and things like that.
Every time you think of torture chamber, like that's like one of the first things that comes to my mind.
The rack.
And then you go to
draw and quarter someone. Yeah.
Have you ever been to the torture museum at medieval times?
No, I have not.
We went to the one at Scarborough Fair and it was actually kind of scary.
It's
in
like
a little bit, in a little way.
It's
Yeah.
But weird. Now, here's one. It's kind of just as horrifying to me, but margarine.
Ew.
Because
Here's
Yeah.
some plastic
Okay.
that tastes sort of
well,
like
because they were trying to invent, if I'm not mistaken, they were trying to invent a grease to grease cogs and machinery that would not break down with heat. And
Now people
and
eat
they
it.
didn't use it for that. And they decided that they could add flavoring to it and feed it to people. That to me is just disgusting and awful. And if I'd have known that when I was a kid, I probably, if any of us had known that when we were kids, we probably would not have eaten it. But they kept telling us it's better for you than butter. It's better for you than
Yeah, I
butter.
can't believe it's not butter. Like my grandma used that.
And now we know better. We know that the butter is not as bad for you as you think it is. And because even though it has cholesterol, the cholesterol, that's not necessarily how you get high cholesterol. And that those trans fats that they have changed to create margarine or oleo, as they called it back in the day.
Yeah.
We've actually learned that those are really terrible for your heart. So
Yeah. Food additives in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
most food additives are to either enhance the flavor, make it addictive, or to preserve its longevity. And none of those things are good for us. None of them. And I will be the first to say I eat processed foods all the time. But yeah.
well, it's just like it's hard to go away from it. It's our way of life. You go to your favorite restaurant and most of their, okay, so Confessions of Having a Chef Husband, which is ridiculous, and most of their food, which I used to work at Brahms, so I get it. Most of their food is not made in-house.
Yeah.
And
it comes frozen or prepackaged.
Yeah,
ready
you
to
have
go.
you have to go to like a super, and even the super fancy expensive restaurants are the same way, but you have to really go to like a farm to table type they slaughter their own cows type place and grow their own food to really get something that's made there. And even then they
often mom
supplement.
and pops are not prepackaged foods, depending on what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the foods they get might be like you can get
well, if they're a
fried rice,
restaurant,
yeah.
they are probably using a food distributor
Right.
in which they're
Yeah.
getting a lot of this stuff at its basic forms, like the dried, rice.
Well, it might
But
not
then
be.
they might
it might not
use
be. It might be frozen rice with the
packages.
peas and carrots already in it.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
you never know.
This is not his current restaurant that he worked at, but the one they worked at before. They the whole like concept of that restaurant is eggs, and they didn't use fresh eggs to save their life for anything.
They use bags of eggs.
Bags of
Yeah.
eggs or pre-made eggs, or if they used any kind of egg stuff, they made it the night before and stuck it in the fridge and stuff like that. So it's just really, I mean, you expect something like that from like McDonald's.
And for that, you can thank refrigeration, because if we didn't
Yeah.
have refrigeration, they
Everything
probably
would
wouldn't
be-
make a lot of that stuff ahead of time.
Yeah.
But you'd
And-
be eating salted pork all the time.
Right, that's true, and that's the other thing that restaurant services do. They add tons of butter and tons of salt and tons of sugar
Yeah,
to their
to
foods
mask the taste
to make
of
it taste
that,
better.
That's a good invention, salt.
yeah,
Well,
that's.
I mean,
That-
it's not really
that's-
an invention,
that's
but
a discovery, not an invention, yeah.
that's right, a discovery. Yes, discovering the ability to use
The
salt.
salt grinder.
Yeah. Okay, a salt shaker is
Salt
a really
shaker.
important invention in my life.
The salt grinder.
Coffee machine.
Funny, like that was like one of the most interesting things that I did when I lived in Utah was like go to the salt flats and see the Morton Salt Company. That was really interesting.
I got to go with my dad one time to the salt mine to pick up loads of salt to take when he was driving a truck, and that was really interesting. And he would bring us back big rocks of salt.
That's
that
so
we
cool.
licked on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me of this cool store that I went on my honeymoon of like they had different flavors of salt. Like they had taken just like your regular salt, in-house salt, and then they had flavored it. There was chocolate salt, olive salt,
now I love
lavender
some
salt.
some chocolate with salt
Like
in it.
some rosemary salt would be
Yeah,
delicious.
rosemary.
Chocolate salt.
Yeah, so they had like different, like that they had made and concocted
interesting.
and put together. They had different kinds of salts, and then they had different kinds of peppers
Ooh.
and different kinds of tea and seasonings and stuff like that. It was like I forgot the name of the restaurant, but it was like a seasonings restaurant.
Interesting.
Or not restaurant, store. Seasonings store.
So, what would be your weird invention?
Oh gosh, like there are so many things. Like y'all kind of went in like a terrible.
I know, I always take it dark.
I
Sorry.
know y'all kind of went in, and so then I was thinking, well, gosh, what is like something dark? You know, like we talked about food additives, and we talked about guillotines and torture chamber, like terrible dark things. Like another one would be the gun. That would be
I
like
was just thinking that
like
gunpowder and the gun.
Yeah, that would be
the Chinese
like
invented gunpowder and they used it for fireworks.
and
I
then
believe.
go to the next level, atomic bomb. That's the most
Absurd invention
absurd
in the
and
whole
stupid.
world.
Yeah, like world killing inventions.
Biochemical warfare.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the things that they...
Mustard gas.
Yes,
and
there you go. Thank you. I
Agent
was
Orange and yeah.
So weird and obscure invention.
Or weird and fun.
Yeah, weird and fun. This is tough. Like, well, I mean, this isn't weird, but like something that kind of like makes me happy and something that I love. Just like the concept of like a comfort object, and that's like your most basic. Like, I love a stuffed animal. Like
that is a fun one. I like that because, like, who would have thought of
like
that?
something to squeeze, like something just like everybody likes something to just hug and squeeze.
Well, and if you think about it, think about the child's doll or toy in the sense of like a doll that's like a human-like figurine. They've come a long way. Yeah. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, it was like corn husk dolls.
Or carved out of wood.
Or using the belly of a pig. They would take like the innards and turn it into toys. And
her and her siblings made dolls out of Coke bottles.
And then there's China dolls.
Yeah.
With glass faces. And, now we have like plastic babies that have like
realistic
newborn look to them
that cry and pee.
And you remember the one that you could feed? Yeah, you could feed it little peas and stuff. Change its diaper.
The baby wets a lot.
And now
those got really
like the whole
and
craze
inside.
is like the squishmallows and stuff.
But that's like the comfort object thing. Like that's one of like the most basic things. Like the fidgets, or like that you can hold in your hand and squish. Like
yeah, those are a weird invention.
Yeah, like those. That's like one of like if you get. Since I'm a teacher, that's like one thing that you can give a child that will other than candy, of course, that will instantly make them happy is something to squeeze.
Oh yeah. Those pop fidgets, those things,
something
or
to
the
squeeze,
things,
something to hold,
or the spinner.
Yeah, the spinner, or anything fidgety, anything. And I notice, like even like the teachers at work, like we all carry something to fidget with. Like I have a little squeezy bee thing that I carry in my pocket, and I love going to. There's a store in Denton called Madness Comics and Games, or Madness Toys, and I go and I just get like a bag of little fidgets and I give them out as classroom rewards.
I didn't know there was a Madness in Denton. There's one in Plano too.
I think it.
I love that store.
It started in Denton, but then they expanded to Plano.
Okay.
They have 2 different stores, one for games and comics and one for toys, which is where I discovered Squishmallows.
Oh, I need to take Raina because
Or
she
Squishables.
loves fidgets and she loves those pop things.
Oh, yeah.
I
Every
see
time
those.
I walk
silly.
in there.
That's a silly invention, but it's like...
so helpful.
She'll have those
Mental
forever
help.
because,
Yeah.
like, of all her toys that she's kind of outgrown, she still loves those and carries those around.
That
And
reminds me
Yeah,
of
I
the
have
other
one in
day
my
when I
backpack
opened
right
up
now.
the drawer.
the drawer in the front hallway, and
And I
Mom
have all these
had
fidget toys in there.
my toy.
So there's a top. I can't remember what that top was called.
gyro something.
Was that a gyro?
Yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't a gyroscope,
No.
but something gyro. Yeah,
But yeah,
remember.
we had stuff like that when we were a kid too. That little
Yeah.
game that
The-
you squeezed and stuff like
Yeah.
that. We had, and the little slap sticky things that you
Oh, the
throw
little
at the
slap-
wall.
Oh
And
yeah.
and you could squeeze those also,
Slap
and the little
bracelets.
squeezy balls. Yeah, those are back in style now.
And the little, they were little. I don't know. They're pop domes. It's like a little dome,
Mm-hmm.
and it's made out of rubber or whatever. And you turn it wrong side out and just lay it on the ground, and after
It
a
would
while
pop
it would
up,
pop
yeah.
Yeah. Those we used to fidget with those all the time.
Yeah, those are
I mean, I've still got some because I was like, I can't throw those away. I just
just
can't.
something, to keep your mind
Mhm.
off of things, like something to squeeze,
Or so
something
you're
to
not,
hug.
chewing on your fingernails. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like
It
that's
is
a
called
really
a
good
gyroscope.
invention.
A gyroscope?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Well, there's like different ways. So there's like a gyroscope that you have like this little metal thing, and you get it to go
Yes.
back and forth.
Yes.
It's the same technology. The
Yeah.
same.
I was thinking it was called something else, though. I don't know. It was a top, basically.
Yeah, it's
And
a
you
top.
wind it up and it
Yeah.
spins. Yeah.
Good old fidgets. That's a good invention, Amber.
Mm-hmm.
We all do love our fidgets.
No, and I love. I mean, it's just like a comfort object. Like I love sleep, and I'm 40 years old, and I'm the first to admit that I sleep with a stuffed animal, and I always have been. It's
I do
always,
too.
Yeah, and it's always like I've always
Mine's
had
called a
one.
pillow.
Well, not
Mine
like
has eyes.
yeah, right. I even like pillows. Like go to Daiso, and I have like a neck pillow that's also like a dinosaur.
Oh, yeah.
And because I have to sleep elevated because of
Yeah.
multiple things
I
like migraines.
I have like multiple
and,
pillows stacked up in my bed.
The
so.
pillows are kind of a cool invention if you think about it. That's been used for God knows how long. That's
Like-
very practical, and it does keep
Yeah.
continuing to get better and better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
they've got some really
Here's
cool
a
type
fun
pillows
one that
now.
we take for granted: the straw.
Oh, my
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, now
Which is
imagine
basically a pipe.
straws today,
Mm-hmm.
and then straws 30 years ago, and then straws like when they first came out.
I don't even
Right?
know.
I don't
well, they
even
were
know what
probably
they
made out
were-
of paper. They were probably
Probably,
and a lot of places are going back to the
Back
paper
to
because
paper.
it's
Well, and that's
biodegradable.
what I'm thinking. Like, so we in this day and age, I mean, and I'm sure anyone can say that in their time, but things are changing exponentially and
Oh,
very
yeah.
rapid.
Oh, yeah.
Technology, inventing things, making things better.
Mhm.
Like I said, like the time frame of the mouse was very short lived, but it was pivotal. Pivotal? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, I
crucial
mean, really, honestly.
in moving technology forward.
Mhm.
And even the straw, if you think about it, it has evolved over time. And I just wonder, like, where it's going. Like, what kind of straws are we going to have, 100 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, like, it's pretty cool. Like, people want to use them. I imagine we'll still use them. But does, like, the drinking cup evolve too?
Right.
Everybody's got these Miyoki cups on TikTok, and it's really cool because you take the straw out and it's got this little flap on the inside that closes with a spring.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's your spring, right? There's your screw. The lid
Yeah.
screws on, right? It's a pump, in a sense. Your body is the pump,
Your
right?
body is the pump
Right?
sucking up the
So-
straw.
When do they make it to where, like, you push the button on the cup and it gives you your drink without effort? Or, when does that
It
technology...
levitates out of the cup and into your mouth.
Right? I'm just
I
saying,
am
like...
waiting for like a transportation, like, or not transportation,
Teleportation.
Teleportation.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I lost the word for a second. I was thinking of like beaming, like Star Wars or whatever.
Yeah,
Holograms.
talking about Star
Holographic.
Trek, the being able to create matter out of other matter, because basically that's what the technology is. They've deconstructed the person to teleport. They've deconstructed them
To an atomic level.
and then reconstruct them in another place. And same thing with their food processing that they have, like on Star Trek. They're taking raw components that are stored in the ship and then atomically
Creating it with
creating
a recipe
the food.
card
Yeah.
in the program. Yeah.
and then the hologram, the holograph. Holodeck, thank you. They are recreating some of those things in a way, because they interact with them and they can touch them and stuff like that. So they work in the same way because they're kind of recreating things, but then they also
Deconstruct it
in an instant, and
and get stored back into wherever it's stored.
So you're not and that's the thing about that technology, like using it to create food or something like that, is that whatever you don't eat, whatever clothes get torn or dirty or whatever, you throw them in the recycler and they are deconstructed again into those base elements and then are used again for something else. So nothing ever really goes to waste.
Yeah.
It's a cool concept. I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but that would be really cool.
Well, I mean, like, we probably will eventually.
Yeah.
I mean,
not in my lifetime, I doubt.
yeah.
But yeah.
But just like when we were talking about at the podcast, we were talking about Ray Bradbury and stuff like that. Like, just a lot of that stuff, like big screen TVs and everything like that, virtual reality was just a
fantasy,
like fantasy in his head, and
like,
now it all exists. Like everything that he talked about in his novels.
I absolutely could not have foreseen when we were playing Traveler 30 years ago.
That you would have
35.
a pocket computer and a wrist computer.
Right. Yeah. I absolutely could not have foreseen that. And that to me was like way far off in the future. And it's a lot closer than we think it is.
25 years ago, I would not have imagined that my phone would tell me to turn right. I thought I was doomed to look on a map for the rest of my life.
Gosh, man, like, and then like I hated just physical maps. Well, I still do.
I like them, but it's really hard to drive.
I mean, I like looking at them,
60 miles
but
an hour down a highway and
drive
go.
and look at a map.
You can't look at a map while you're driving.
Really hard.
Now, what I'm waiting for is the heads-up display in my car, because that was another technology, and they do have those. Is it the Buicks? I think now have a heads-up display for the driver that shows the map and things like that. And
the Audis have them also,
Okay.
because Jason's mom has an Audi, and it is.
That's brilliant.
I want one.
Does it shine on the windshield, or is it on the dash still? Because I want it to be like on the windshield,
Me
so
too,
that I
so
can
that you
see
through
through
it and see the road.
It's on the windshield. Yeah.
Yeah, I want like an arrow telling me to go straight and
Or
it
to
know
follow
what
that
lane
exit.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have a feeling, in 50 years from now, we'll be using we may not, but, our phones will be the funny thing that doesn't get used anymore. Like
It could be. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where we still had cell phones not cell phones, but landlines, that we dialed with a rotary dial.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we still had those when you were a baby, and that was
was
not
a
that.
blip.
I mean,
Yeah, that was a blip in technology too, and part of me thinks that cell phones will be a blip. Yeah, Betamax.
blip in technology.
I had a
VCR,
Betamax. I had a
yeah.
Betamax.
That's what I'm saying. The VCR
It was far superior.
It only it wasn't even 100 years that we had VCRs.
I'm surprised that DVDs still exist. Honestly,
I mean, VCRs in your home was very short-lived.
Yeah.
The mini discs, the little mini ones, that barely was around too.
CDs. Oh my God. So I think I've talked about this before on the podcast. You know, my husband was in one of those CD clubs where
Columbia
you got
House,
to get like,
yes.
Columbia House, and he got like
And
10
then the
CDs
movie clubs,
or 12 every month or something. And, you know, it was insane. He has so many CDs and nowhere to play them. Like, I mean, your car.
I have
but,
like a big book of CDs.
Yeah.
Like I was
Vinyl.
in one of
And
those
this-
when I was a kid
yeah,
too.
and
I have
DVDs.
vinyl albums, and my
See-
husband gave away his record player, his turntable.
See, I have, and that's so funny because, like, for my birthday last year, I bought May's 20-year anniversary of their first album, gold album in vinyl, and I'm like, well, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, well, you know, I'm never going to be able to play this, so I'm going to have to, like, it's an art piece.
Okay, well, Ashley,
well, you can get a record
Ashley
player.
I know,
asked
yeah.
for and got for Christmas a turntable. She got a little Victrola turntable.
And I'm going to bring it over here and play it on Ashley's.
And
Yeah.
it's Bluetooth, so you can Bluetooth to your headset.
Travis found one online that did CDs and Bluetooth and stuff like that, and he's been loving being able to listen to his music because he didn't have a way to play CDs except in the car, and he has a very extensive library, and it was just like,
can't
man,
even play
And
CDs in
your
my car.
laptops don't
my
have
laptop,
a CD player
I know,
anymore.
literally,
the
I was
cars
like,
don't either.
ooh, let's watch this DVD, and then I realized that the only way we can watch our movies is if we play them in a game console, but
Yeah,
I don't
that's the only
think
way
game
we have-
consoles are going to take CDs much longer because you download the games online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if 10 years from now they don't even come out on a disc anymore.
That's why I'm like, they're still around, and I see them, and I'm like, oh, movies, and like the Barbie movie, I really liked it, you know, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool to own, and then like my old Amazon wish list, all it had was movies,
Yeah,
but now
I had hundreds of movies on there.
now it's just like, which is weird. I deleted it because I got this obscure Christmas present, which was like a box of DVDs, and I was like, how'd they know I wanted these movies? And they came like directly, like they were the first like 5 movies off of my
Wow.
old Amazon wish list.
Movies
I
that you
had.
forgot you wanted.
Yeah,
That's
and
so funny.
well, actually, I think I owned like a couple of them already, and I didn't take them off the wish list. But I was just like, oh wow, somebody found my old Amazon wish list and bought me some of the movies on there. But I don't have any way to play them. Like, I think we do have an Xbox.
That's
Yeah,
why-
you can
but-
play them on your Xbox. That's
Well,
what
that's,
we
But I don't
that's
even
why I
ever
have to
touch
go
it.
through my Amazon wish lists and clean them up frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
I haven't bought any DVDs in a long time. I probably will only buy a few things to round out some collections, you know, just to make sure I have all of the ones in a set. But mostly when I watch something now, I just
Stream it.
I stream it. I do. I have movies. I was still receiving Netflix DVDs until they quit sending DVDs. And I still have DVDs in there that I will watch. But I don't know. I don't know. It's sometimes just easier just to stream it.
Just like sometimes it's easier to use the mouse tracker on your computer than use a mouse.
Yeah. I don't use a mouse at all. I only use my pad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people kind of don't use the mouse anymore. They just use the pad.
Steven uses a mouse. He games heavily
Well,
though, and he has a very special
yeah,
mouse.
if you're gaming, I can
I
definitely
use the
see
mouse
why
at work.
using a
I
mouse.
would go crazy if
I
didn't have a
operate
mouse.
Photoshop and do fine tuning editing with my fingers on a trackpad. So, you know, I don't need it. My husband had a trackball. He used a trackball
That's
for
like,
editing.
One of my favorite things and I just want it, like the Wattpad or whatever. Like, I love using that thing at work.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are interested in looking up Inventors and kind of like figuring out who was like the forefront leader of certain types of technology or other types of inventions. There's a really cool website you can go to. It's called National Inventors Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
And they actually have a museum in Alexandria, Virginia, that looks really cool.
That would be
We're
fun.
going to have to
Road trip,
go
road
to
trip.
that. Yeah.
Right?
I love obscure museums.
They have really cool like exhibits. Like they have like a women's section of women inventors, as well as information about like what the people invented. So it's like they actually have like artifacts and stuff. So it's really cool.
Interesting. Very cool.
They give the credit due to those people that invented those things, which is really neat, because I think that's where like it kind of falls out of the way. Like these things just appear and then they evolve and become these other things, and then we just kind of forget about the original invention that brought us where we are today.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, does anybody else have any other inventions?
I could talk on this topic for a long time.
Sure.
There's so many things, but
right? Like refrigeration, air conditioning, cars, locomotives, like bringing
the cotton gin,
mattresses,
the sewing machine, mattresses. You're so practical. I love it.
Running water.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey,
water filtration. Yeah.
I don't like sleeping on the ground. And then you're talking about the pillow. That is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, practical, I mean, like, y'all talked about, like, the big stuff, like cell phones and computers and stuff. The internet definitely revolutionized my life, because I love having knowledge at my fingertips. People, a lot of people take that to advantage, but then a lot of people don't.
Yeah. That's pretty sad, too. Like, you don't have to go to the library now and go search a card catalog and hope you found the book that tells you what you needed.
Right.
Very limited information, man. You could just go on Google and read all the sources all at once.
Right.
Yeah. It's
without even opening a book. You can just read like the little
Or even if you're looking for a book, you can go straight to Amazon and put in some keywords and find the book.
Even find it on the internet sometimes, like free reading sites. There are so many reading apps now. It's crazy. And that's kind of sad, because I love physical books, the smell of physical books, and buying and having physical books. But
I can read a lot faster with a book in my hand than I can on my Kindle or iPad.
Yeah, I used to be that way. And Kristen got me into Kindle Unlimited, and
now I've moved on to Audible. Catch up, girl. No,
man, I've had Audible for years. Woman.
I know.
Like, what are you talking about? I listen to an audiobook to and from work.
Yeah, I know, and that to me, that's like the written word coming back full circle to
back to the spoken word.
The spoken word.
Yeah.
But it's in the written word. Like it's been like, I don't know, like refined, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get lots of time to like get it right, and tweak it, and that's really cool. But the book was definitely the stepping stone for all of that.
Yeah. How many inventions do you think it takes to make that audiobook? I'm just thinking. Okay,
how many
like
of
the
those
backward design?
How many of those inventions?
Deconstruct it.
Yeah, so you had to, if it's a recording, obviously magnetism
for the microphones, and the
electricity. The
itself.
Recording device itself is probably
the speakers.
Magnetic. The speakers are magnetic. If it's a digital storage device, it's probably magnetic or something.
To be able to have it
or
from some
laser,
other
which
place.
would be lens.
But to have it from some other place, you would need like the internet, right?
Yeah.
And your pocket device.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, and I use Bluetooth headphones, so Bluetooth technology.
Right.
It's literally traveling.
And it came from a book, so somebody had to write the book, and how was the book stored?
And the paper, and the
paper,
keyboard,
printing
and the
press,
typewriter.
keyboard.
Yeah. The, what do they call it? The
Whoever
actual,
invented
like-
the alphabet. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
you know.
that's why I was like,
Yes.
sorry, I was like
Well, gosh,
Gregorian calendar, and I was like, no, not that.
That just goes.
That's another good invention, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thought, like tracing something back to its bare origins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna have to read that book.
Yeah, I think it's worth reading. All right. Hey, what's up next week?
Next week we are talking about what is the thing you are most scared to do? So we're talking about like fear and stepping out of your fear. And
Oh, that's
I
going
have-
to be
I
an
wanna know what
interesting
y'all's-
topic.
what you scared of?
Yeah, that one could be dark.
Right.
I don't know.
That's been like the
Dark and serious.
Yeah.
so true. So
So
true.
looking forward to, peeling
Some
that
deep discussion. Peel that onion. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah. All right.
Well, we would like to thank Creative Audio Tech and Cake Mix Studios for our sound and equipment.
Yes.
And then we'd like to thank our listeners. So follow us, comment to us, send us an email, like and subscribe, give us a rating. Let us know. Come to our Facebook group,
Oh yeah.
MMC Chat, and answer our poll. And let's get some discussion going.
Yeah.
Ooh, we should put an invention poll on there.
Yeah.
What's your
the most
favorite?
important or your favorite invention? Yeah. Your
Cool.
favorite.
Or
Yeah.
like we'll totally do that. Come answer
Jacuzzi.
our poll.
The jacuzzi.
Oh, swimming
Sorry,
pool.
I had to throw another one in there.
A shower.
The
Shower, like
bathtub.
honestly, yeah.
Thank you, Romans, for the
Toilets.
bath. Oh, flushing toilets.
Flushing
definitely.
Butt
toilets.
wipes.
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay, we're gonna keep
Okay,
coming up with stuff. Yeah.
we're gonna stop. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.